the general surface of the film is, Coogler, his cinematography, the angles that he's using is a visceral film, but then he leaves a lot to the imagination as well too. Coogler, he don't seem like the type of director that's trying to like really even trick you. You kind of know where the story's going, but then Coogler would cut away and make you second guess what you figured was going to happen anyway. It's just interesting. There's a couple scenes in there where it's like, okay, this is about to happen. Then he cuts away. I'll just say this. I'll say it like this because the Hailee Steinfeld character. It's a moment in the film she's encountering, the antagonist, all right? And you figure, okay, something's about to happen here. It cuts away, and then you see Hailee Steinfeld again, and you're like, okay, did what I thought happened? You know what I mean? So it's just Coogler makes you kind of play tricks on your own mind in a very subtle ways. Yeah, the actor, what's his name? Miles Canton, who's really what the story is told through his eyes. The film starts off, where you're seeing kind of the aftermath of that night and that character, and then it goes back and tells you the story of what he went through, and it ends up, again, kind of being his story of artistic expression and music and interesting stuff. But let me go briefly through my highlights. Like I said, we'll get back to that actor in just a moment, but it's about Michael B. Jordan. So much so that it's two of him, right? And what I gotta say with this is interesting approach, first off, interesting range of Michael B. Jordan, because it only took me about two scenes. Then I was just like, oh, I see the two different characters. Like you buy into it very easily that he's playing two different characters. And very subtle too. And the cool thing is that the characteristics of him. This movie could have been a play. That's how I really felt. Just how the acting style that everyone was, especially Michael B. Jordan. The Smokestack twins, right? So you got Stack with the red, Smoke with the blue. And they said this in interviews. Stack, the one with the red, is always going to be smiling. And you see his mannerisms, and he's a little more playful. He's a little more trusting of people and stuff like that, looking for the good. And you got Smoke, who doesn't smile much. He's all business. I believe he's the older twin. I think they said that in the film. And again, he's all about business. He's not trying to play around. He's trying to keep things on code, keep things on track. And it just comes after two scenes with them. You're like, oh, I get it. Like I see the difference easily, and you're not confused at all in this film. As it goes forward. So great. This is one, definitely. I feel Michael B. Jordan. I think his best performance is still Fruitvale Station. That's still his best performance, but that was a very, very old film. Not very old film. A definitely older film that he was in. One of the first feature films he was in. So that was great. This was probably his best performance overall because you're playing two different characters and again, two different stories. Very interesting. Another standout, as I mentioned, that Hailee Steinfeld. Any scene her and Michael B. Jordan was in together, I'm like, yo, they're definitely going to do more films together. And I mean, they don't necessarily have to be love interests every time, but their chemistry worked great. Her brief backstory of her character and her family, because off-site you look at her like, oh, she's white in a black club, and this is the separated South. This is a segregated South. So it's a story with that, right? And then it's easily explained, but there's a history, and again, you see that Michael B. Jordan with the red, so that's Stacks, right? So they got this history, and this is some of the best. I've seen Haley Steinfeld, just her character. This is a very different character that you've seen her. You haven't seen her like this. Yeah, you haven't seen Haley Steinfeld like this. Okay. So you fans of her, this isn't your Disney princess here. This ain't Kate Bishop right here. This is a grown woman. Okay. And it works. Because that's one thing. The things Cougar had her doing, you could be like, oh man, could that come off kind of corny? She sells it. Again, she works really well with Michael B. Jordan throughout this film. And I thought she was going to be some kind of throwaway character, but is different levels to her. Just like all these characters, most of them is kind of different levels to these characters. So cool stuff with that. Yeah, Haley Steinfeld. She played it. She played it. Let's see. What's this actress name? Because I want to make sure I give her props. I don't want to just call her the witch lady, because she's more than that. Wunmi Masaku. She was in BVS, right? In these supernatural films, you need someone that knows the rules, right? So she was very great for the audience, because she knew once she realized there was vampires involved, she knew what to do, to increase their chances of survival. Very important character in this film. Great performance. She has a history with smoke, and that's a whole nother arc in the film. Like, all these characters and their backgrounds, it's a rich backgrounds, and the story, everyone kind of has like a different journey in this film, and it's just a very full story. There's not many wasted characters, you know what I mean, especially the main ones. So she was I call her the witch lady, but she was a very important character, and she really helped the plot go along. So you have Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld had her own angle, and then this young lady had her very important character in this film overall. But I think the key moment, once you realize, because this film starts, like I said, you got the twins, they're coming down there, they kind of ended some no good. They're not all the way clean here. This film's called Sinners, so everyone kind of has some dirt on them. But they come out there, they want to set up this juke joint. Again, coming back to the South, they was in Chicago for a while. I think robbed some people, came down there with some money to set up shop. And you're thinking, oh, just gonna have a little party, make a little money, right? And then once the party starts, you have this music scene. And I thought at first, before seeing this film, people was like, oh, the way the music's used and it's so unique. And it's like, yeah, I mean, obviously Coogler uses good music, is very musically influenced, but it was all about this scene for me. It was up to this point, it was a very straightforward story. And then when this young man starts playing this song and you see it connect and transcend centuries, past, future, I was like, dang, I've never seen nothing like this before. When this scene drops, like what Coogler did right here, like, I don't even know how you categorize what Coogler did with this scene. It was really amazing. It became a unique journey. Like, because everything's very straightforward up to this point. Again, segregated South, Black folks trying to get something together. And then once the party starts, this scene starts, and it becomes a different film. I feel this is like two different films. Just in my opinion, like if you didn't have one particular scene before this music scene, where before the sun goes down, you're introduced to the vampire element, kind of like on the side. If Coogler never included that first vampire scene before the party starts, these are two different movies in a good way. It's not a bad thing, but so once he does this kind of time travel, it makes music like this is more than just like a simple artistic expression. And there's other messages in this movie too, with the dialogue and when the vampires, when they turn people, and what does that mean really? That's a whole nother conversation that I'll probably have longer conversations about. But as straightforward as possible, this becomes a different movie. So after this music performance, then Coogler heightens up now let's lean into the vampire part of this film. And that's just where this film I feel like there's no more rules after this scene. And again, it keeps feeling like a play. It feels like Coogler can make this into a play. That's just the way this film comes across. The dialogue, the messages, the speeches. Because you get to a point where vampires, again, people get turned into vampires, people get killed off, and things like that. And it's like the vampires are trying to convince the living. It just becomes this philosophical conversation. I'm like, I've never seen. Who thinks of this? And that's what Coogler did. And I ain't gonna get into too many more spoilers with this film, but it just. Because as I said, that's where things really set off. You could tell everyone scene for scene what happens up to that music part, and I don't think you spoil anything. After that is all spoilers, but a very unique experience this film is. And again, I got to see it multiple times. I got to see it again just to make sure I have my thoughts, in line with what he's trying to get across in this film. Now we was talking about Carlos was in the chat was talking about this being like a franchise. Because the post-credit scenes is interesting. I mean, the mid-credit scenes is a little more important to the story, but the post-credit scene, the final scene, I think is just highlighting the musical element of this film. This musical element is like a character in this film, right? So I got to kind of watch it again to kind of understand even what I'm saying with that overall. So very interesting. But just final words with this. All I get was with the franchise thing. So the mid credits is just showing that again, just this is the type of world. These are the rules in this world. And could there be again? I think Carlos mentioned werewolves. Could he do like a werewolf story in this world? Yeah, I mean, he's just showing that these things exist in this world. So, why not? Why not do that? So, very interesting. I will say, like at the end, because you're in the Jim Crow South, segregated South. I was wondering, and this is the last thing I'm actually going to say. Then I'm going to close this. I was wondering how the white audience would accept that scene. Like, how would that scene land with them? If you've seen the film and you see this picture, then you know what I'm talking about. Because it's a very visceral scene. It's a very in-your-face type scene. And very interesting arc for this character as well. Because, again, everyone has their own destinies in this film. It's a unique experience. And we're going to have fuller conversations about this. There's larger themes in this as well. And because I will say, when I say I wonder how the white audience will take it, people get so caught up in calling things woke and things like that. Coogler's like, well, I'm just going to take you to a time where, I was obvious racism, and we were segregated. And this is just in your face. You know what I mean? As far as what happens there. So just very interesting choices by Coogler in it as well, too. So, like I said, loved the film.